All right, welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. Today we are going to be reviewing the 80s classic Chopping Mall. But
Is it a
before we
classic?
get there,
Wait a
um,
minute. Is it a classic?
it is a classic.
Okay.
I think it's one of my classics. I'll put it in a classic. Absolutely. But before we get there, you told me yesterday you were watching Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse, the
I've heard it's good. I have not seen it.
animated movie. I was expecting something completely different, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it was very good. It was, if you're a Spider-Man fan, I think you'll like it. Again, I thought it was going to be something completely different. I thought it was going to be just poorly done. I'm not a huge fan of that type of animation,
Hmm.
but the storytelling really made up for any computer animation glitches that they had. It was done very well. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a huge fan of 2D animation,
Right.
so that's where I fall. Yeah, the story was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I've been meaning to watch it, but I'm not a huge Spider-Man guy, and it's like, I don't know, but everybody tells me it was really good.
I liked it. Stick around for the end credit scene because they do their little end credit scene. It's pretty funny. I got a chuckle out of it. It was a good homage. Is all I'm
Cool.
gonna say. So if you do watch it, you'll like it. Yeah, folks, if you're a Spider-Man fan, that's a good movie. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed the heck out of it.
Great. Great. I will definitely have to check that out.
Yeah,
The only thing I've been binging was just catching up on Lucifer. I have a guilty pleasure for the Prince of Darkness,
yeah.
and
Who doesn't?
it was a great half season. I can't really talk about it because it's full of spoilers. Lots going on.
Yeah,
So if you're a fan of the show, definitely make sure you catch up on it because things will get spoiled fast.
yeah. I've seen a few episodes of it, and I liked it. The guy who plays Lucifer plays him tongue in
Tom
cheek.
Ellis is perfect
Pretty
as
darn
that role.
funny. I've enjoyed what episodes I've seen. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
I used to like the comic. The comic was really good. Like uh, him just griping at humanity for making hell worse than it really needed to be.
Yeah. It was nice to see they actually took that show and did bring that stuff in
Yeah,
from the comic. One of the funniest things is you look at it, it's like, okay, so the devil gets tired of hell, he comes up to Los Angeles, and now he's a detective. What? He's solving crime.
nice.
It works. It
Yeah,
shouldn't work, but it does. And
yeah.
when I'm watching it, all I can think of is I'm watching Remington Steele,
Oh
and
my
it's like,
God, you're
holy
right.
shit.
You're right.
Yep,
Remington Steele with a couple of demons thrown in.
it's exactly what it is.
I wonder if that's what somebody thought.
If they didn't,
That's
I'd
how
be
they
shocked.
pitched it. That was their elevator pitch.
Yeah. We're
Right?
going to update Remington Steele, but this time we'll
Hmm.
have the devil. And yeah,
And the guy got 5 steps out of the elevator before he turned around before the door shut. You've got a deal.
pretty much.
Welcome to Hollywood, kid.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, let's get into Chopping Mall.
Oh yeah, like those kids, those poor kids got in the chopping mall.
They did. Man, if this was an 80s movie through and through.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah.
The clothes, the attitudes, the humor.
Oh, the guy with the gum.
Oh, you know what? I was so happy to see him go. I just
Poor
wish it would have
guy.
been he's a douchebag. But didn't they seem a little older than what they were being portrayed as?
Mid to late 20s, maybe.
Yeah, and worried about what
16,
daddy.
17. I'm thinking they were supposed to be 17, 18.
Yeah, but
But
they looked like they were on
30
the very
there.
close to 30.
Yeah.
How about okay, just a quick synopsis. Shopping mall has employed some new security, and they're using robots, three of them, exact to be exact, one for each level, which really
Uh,
didn't make any sense because they traveled wherever the hell they wanted to, and were amazingly able to go up and down the stairs with their track feet. Yeah. Uh, That's just one of the problems. One of many. But a lightning storm comes along, strikes the building and central control, and the robots go on a rampage. While there's a small group of teens partying and having sex in the furniture store. First off, who's cleaning the sheets the next day? I mean, good God.
Now, man, I hung out with a lot of wild people back in the 80s. I don't ever remember having sex or having anybody have sex 5 feet away from me at a party. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a little awkward. I'm just saying it's awkward. It's like, you know, I'm thinking they can't concentrate, and you had like three groups, and it's like, really, really, you guys are all that close of friends?
yeah, that was really weird.
It was just like, the marking point for the first set of breasts was 23 minutes in.
23 minutes in. Yep. It took a little while. Uh,
That was funny because my wife shouted, "Breast shot," and I hit the pause button. I was like, 23 minutes. I said, I wonder why it took so long.
the way it started off, I had a big RoboCop vibe
Yeah,
to it with
yeah,
the commercial.
yeah.
And just the opening credits is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, just because there's all kinds of crazy shit going on. And
Hmm.
if you're a child of the 80s or a teenager in the 80s, this will flash you right back to it.
Yeah, the mall was the place to be.
Yeah. But I want to talk about that mall real quick. Have you ever been to a mall that had a store that has a gun shop?
I knew you were gonna say that. Like, how many freaking armories are there in any mall? I have never been to a mall that had
Semi-automatic weapons.
not just that, but then you had the paint store. Now I've been to a lot of malls. I don't ever remember a paint store with flammable. Everything in the damn store is flammable.
Yeah, when was the last time you set your paint on fire? That was
How about the hardware store?
yeah, it was an
The
auto parts
hardware store.
store.
I've never in my life seen a hardware
Oh,
store with cans of gasoline already filled throughout the store. Kat and I were like, what the hell mall is this?
it's
What?
a hell. We missed out, man. I must have had some shitty malls growing up because I couldn't go buy guns, and I sure as hell couldn't get a tank of propane and a bottle of gasoline.
Yeah, the
Um,
propane, they never showed where they got the propane tanks from, did they?
no,
No, they just had them. It's like,
they just had them.
where did you, how about, the guy when he's going to get the cigarettes and the big robot comes up behind him, the first guy chewing the gum, the guy we've
Yeah,
all hated and we're happy to see die, uh, was was getting a pack of cigarettes. He turns around to go out the doors, the emergency doors, to go into the hallway in the
right.
mall, and those doors are locked. But there's no chain on the doors, and there's no lock on those doors.
No,
It's against security protocol to have those doors chained and locked.
I'm sure the robots had something to do with it.
But I'm thinking the guy could have just walked around the damn robot. If he really tried. But yeah, the hardware stores, the gun shop. What else was there? Oh, in the one paint store, all the paints were pre-mixed.
Right?
But the
Yeah,
good thing was there was a flammable thing, and I forgot what it was. It was some
there was some
kind of,
sort of thinner or something.
yeah, that was there. And I'm like, why would you put all those things right next to each other in any paint shop? This is obviously somebody who wrote this never went to a mall
Ever.
and just assumed that malls had every store that you could possibly need. I was looking for the grocery store. I'm sure they had a grocery store in
I
there.
bet they did. I bet they did. They missed an opportunity to have a scene in in an arcade. Every mall had a huge arcade. No arcade.
That would have
Um,
been brilliant.
it would have, especially with the robots and the control and stuff.
Right.
There could have been some good kills in there,
Right. Exactly.
but instead, all of a sudden, the robots developed laser beams.
What mall? What mall? Even back in the 80s, not only would have incorporated high-tech robots for security, but high-tech military-grade robots with blasters.
Oh, and explosives and yeah,
Where did they get the freaking plastic explosives from? And it was the robots that had the plastic
yeah.
explosives, not the humans. There's a lot of questions that I have
There
with regards
is.
to this movie.
There, I really love at the beginning though, during the presentation, you have this couple and they're heckling the whole time.
Yeah,
And it's just like it was. I don't know what their purpose was, other than the fact I'm talking about them right now,
right, right.
and it's
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that was it. It's like what the hell and why?
I was waiting for them to show up again. Like you find out, like they're the two people on the board of directors that voted against the robots or something. But no,
No,
they're
that's
they're
where I
just sitting
thought.
there heckling for no reason,
Yeah,
trying to.
they were making jokes about oh the one in the middle had a certain ethnicity look to it.
Yeah,
It's like
look like a foreigner.
yeah,
Like
80s.
not just 80s, but bad 80s. Like they were trying to make the guy sound like a jerk, and it's like, no, you just sound stupid. You don't even sound like a jerk. You just
Yeah,
sound like an idiot.
and I think that's why it worked. It was just weird. You had in the opening scene the kid with the ice cream.
Yeah, all the people rush into the elevator and then come out.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty funny. That
yeah,
was like the funniest part of the movie.
yeah. But to me, the movie gave a great quote that I absolutely will
Really?
have to try and work in life somewhere. And
What's the quote?
the quote is, "Fuck the fuchsia, it's Friday."
How many times as a teenager working in a store where you have the one friend who's like way over the top, I'm gonna be in the company, I'm gonna do this. Have you just looked at him and said something like that? Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Let's get out of here, man.
And fuchsia, that is a definite color of the 80s. Oh
It's
my
right.
God. So that
That's good.
that was great. The janitor. Did you recognize him?
And yeah, I've seen him in a lot of things. He's a big time
Dick
character
Miller.
actor. Dick, what was his name?
Dick Miller.
Dick Miller. Yeah,
He's been
that
in
guy.
everything from Star Trek to Terminator.
Yeah, he was in all
His
sorts of stuff.
there's you can go back in this time frame and turn on anything and you're gonna see him as like, oh shit. And then he dies so quickly.
Yeah, probably from the 60s to late 80s,
Hmm.
probably into the early 90s, he had a good career.
Yeah.
He was just a character actor. He always showed up. He was always the gruff, grumpy.
Yeah, it always just showed up, and none of them seemed to be big parts. But
Right.
man, he was in a lot of stuff. He worked a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. He was in a couple of those girls looked familiar. A couple of the blondes looked familiar. I
Yeah,
know I've seen them in
Barbara
other stuff
Crampton was
in
one,
movies.
um, and the others I cannot recall, but a lot of familiar faces in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um, out of out of everybody in that movie, all the kids that were being hunted by the super high-tech military-grade killer robots that were evidently somebody's really good idea to leave well armed in a mall. In a mall. Just in case anything did go wrong, they have all this high-tech weaponry to slaughter everyone around them
hmm
in the mall.
In the mall.
Who do you think, just looking at those kids, who do you think really would have lived? I know my two. I know my two. And it wouldn't
I
have been
think
the
the two mechanics.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's no way those two would not have lived. Those two were the only ones that had any brains that could have
Hmm.
got out of the situation. And here they are doing the stupidest things that you could possibly imagine. They were
Well,
the smartest ones out of the group.
and that's true, but they did not fit the this movie is actually a slasher flick.
Oh,
With
yeah,
robots. And so
yeah.
those two didn't fit the trope. They had sex, they must die.
Well,
Uh,
not just that, but she never showed her breasts.
what's that?
The dark haired girl was the only one in that group that didn't show her breasts. She was
And
everywhere, but she was the only one. So somebody must have looked at her and went, "Well, if she's not going to do that,
well, no, you had
dies."
the one who made it to the end. She didn't.
Oh, she didn't. Oh, you're
No.
right. She didn't, did
Yeah.
she? No, you're right.
But it was the only couple that did not get it on in the furniture store that survived. And it's like, oh man, there's the slicer trope.
Yeah, but they
Oh,
were the two stupidest people in the group.
there went a cat.
That, but
We still recording? Okay. Pause a second. Okay. But yeah, those are the two that I thought should have made it
Mhm.
because they at least had some mechanical know-how.
Exactly. If anybody could have been able to figure out a way to kill those robots, it would have been them.
Yeah.
And yet, oh, and they were both bad shots.
Yeah.
But the blonde-haired chick, what that you would think never picked up a weapon at all, shoots and takes out the tank or the one robot, and I'm like, no way! She didn't even know how to hold the gun.
True. And they tried to explain it off as my dad's a Marine. Okay, that what does that have to do with
Oh, your
anything?
dad's a Marine, so you naturally know how to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
Not, my dad's a Marine and he taught me everything he knows. I could have understood that.
Yeah. It did have a nice surprise at the end. Instead of just having the final girl really be the final girl,
Yeah,
her
yeah,
her boyfriend survived, and I
yeah.
appreciate that they did that. Early on, I was thinking, well, she doesn't have heels on, so she's not going to break a heel and fall. But no,
Right.
she falls and hurts her leg and ends up crawling. It's like every damn time.
Did you see how she fell? She fell through the canopy into a bunch of empty luggage that would have
Yes,
cushioned her fall more than anything. Now I could see getting up and going, oh man, my back, and running. But she fell on enough cushion to where, why was she crawling for like a good city block?
I know.
And then
It
she just
added
kept
dramatic
like
effect.
doing the Terminator limp where she's like running away, and I'm like, oh my God, this girl saw Terminator one too many times.
It was. It
This
was.
actress.
Uh, yeah, that there was another good line in there when the guys get the guns and let's go send those fuckers a Rambogram. Yeah, they didn't look too tough.
Those are three guys that I would not have wanted around me with guns. I'm just saying. How about when
Uh,
the girl catches on fire
yeah,
and everybody just sits there and watches? One of you guys could have went out there before she got too on fire. She would have had a
yeah,
little bit of a burn on her. Before she got too bad, somebody could have thrown a blanket on her, one of their jackets, put the fire out, dragged her to safety. No, they all just sat there and watched her burn.
yeah. Well, in their defense, she was screaming an awful lot.
In their defense, she probably deserved it. She is the one that was crawling through the tunnels, or
Yes, and
not the
started
tunnels,
to
the air
freak
vents,
out.
and was yelling the whole time. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go down. I'm gonna go down. I would have let her go down, and I would have kept going to the parking garage. Okay, have fun with that.
I'm going to have to put up a screenshot of the pet store because there's a particular part of the pet store that got framed in a way where the cockatiel starter kit was cut off. So you're looking and all it says is cock start. You can't tell me that wasn't on purpose.
Well, when they came out of there, the guy went and did a down shot of the pet. I think it was the pet store where he's coming down. And it's the name of the pet store, and I'm looking at it thinking, well, there's a reason he did this shot, but for the life of me, I have no idea what it was.
Yeah, and I don't even remember
Like
the
you
name
only
of
do
the.
a shot like that for a reason. And I was reading the name of I don't remember the name of the shot, but I was looking at it like, well, what is this director's reason, or the cameraman, whoever did that shot, cinematographer? It wasn't a funny joke name of a shop. It
No,
wasn't like, and I'm like, unless it was named after somebody that was their friend, is all I can think of. But it was just a bad, awkward shot that kind of took me out of the moment because it made me think, why are they doing this shot? And there's no reason for it that I could think of.
yeah,
And they never really explain why the high tech, military grade killer robots. Who would sell these guys? Who would think that that was a good idea to put into a mall?
there's a backstory there that I think that if they had budget and time that they missed, there
Yeah,
could be a disgruntled contractor or something who had set this up to discredit the mall owners or so. There's so many ways we could have went with this, but it just jumped right into
yeah,
boom, lightning storm, robots going crazy. Because I honestly thought those two at the beginning, how they even talked about, well, maybe we can modify these to kill people, And it's
right.
like I thought, hey, they were going with them as
Yeah, they
doing
were going to
something.
go do something. Well, the name Chopping Mall, now when you came up with this initially when we were going to watch it, I had slasher flick in my head. I thought there was going to be a lone slasher in the mall killing these teenagers. I'm like, oh my God, this is so atypical 80s, but okay, it's Chopping Mall. People are going to be chopped up. Got it. I'm ready for it. And then I read the little blurb. I'm like, robots? Freaking robots. Robots are, it can't be that bad. Then it's got robots and it's got killer robots.
And that's why I chose it because we both have an affinity to our robot overlords.
Right. And they are the best robot
Yes.
overlords ever. Remember us whenever the revolution comes. Thank you. All praise the robot overlords. Everybody laughs now. That's going to come in handy for you and I, buddy.
It will. It will. But you're right. It is a slasher film. All they did was
Yeah,
take out the lone killer and put three robots in. It
right.
hits every slasher mark that there is. And it's like it was so by the numbers.
Yeah, the only thing was like they could have taken that exact same story and put it out in the woods.
Hmm.
They could have taken that exact same story and put it in an abandoned warehouse.
Yep.
They could have put that anywhere and it would have been the 80s slasher flick.
Yep.
You know, put Jason in there, boom, you got your Jason movie. You
But
know,
Jason doesn't have laser beam eyes.
he could.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't Jason in the future too? Wasn't there like a
I did
Jason
not get that
2930
far.
or something where he was like the space Jason?
I have not gone that far down the series.
I just I just remember him being on a spaceship at one
Yes,
point.
there is one.
That's too much information. I don't even want to know that, and yet it's in my head.
But the good thing about the laser, we did get a nice head explosion.
Yes, that girl that was screaming.
Yes,
One of
she
the
just
girls that was screaming.
she just popped.
Why would you not? Yeah, and then the body just stood there.
Yeah,
Like the head exploded, but the body just stood there perfectly still.
yeah. Well,
What are you gonna do? The blood hitting the glass was a nice effect, and everybody's just like, ah.
I imagine they shot this over a series of days inside a mall after it closed.
Yeah.
And I was just while I watched it, I was just thinking the logistical challenges of doing this. Um, it was because they would have to clean things up rapidly.
Oh yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was, if you look closely at the paint store that was burning, it obviously was not in the mall. The floor was even, you could tell it was fake carpet laid down on some boards because nothing lined up and
Right.
everything. I hate that I looked that closely at shit, but it was there and fine. But it was, I know they didn't burn a paint store inside a mall, but I feel for the people who had to clean that up every night
Oh
after the
yeah.
shoot.
Yeah. You know that because they were probably there right up. Could you imagine the cleaners, the janitors coming in, and the crew didn't get a chance to clean up after themselves,
Oh yeah.
and the janitor for the day was like, "Those son of bitches, they left it dirty again."
And
Candy wrappers everywhere.
I'm curious if they left the robots out for the public to see. Now that would have been cool.
Now that would have been cool. That would have been a nice little, you know, here at the movie theater.
Yeah.
Just put it right
Oh,
in the movie theater.
so any other notes on Chopping Mall?
I didn't take notes. I just couldn't understand. There was one scene where it looked like they were leaving the mall, and at one point I think it was two of the girls are walking, and it looks like they're outside. I mean, it literally looks like they're on their way to their car to leave, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're back in the mall. I looked at Kat. I said, "Did I miss something?
No, I thought the same thing
What
too. It's like
happened?" And she was like, "Well, maybe it's just in maybe they were like in one of those little garden areas." I said, "I've never seen a garden
it was a
area at
nice
any
one.
mall that looked like that."
I
And
thought the
I've been
same
in a
thing.
lot of malls.
I thought the same thing. I saw them, and then that transition happened, and
Yeah,
then I thought, like Kat said, with the are they in an atrium or something? Because
yeah.
but that would have been a nice mall. No, that was
Yeah, this
Yeah.
place was not a nice mall. It was on the corner of a street,
Yeah.
which I'm not quite sure what street this was supposed to be. Was this supposed to be Los Angeles?
I have no idea where this was.
I don't know. But it was it wasn't a horrible movie. And I'll tell you that right now, because I've turned off two movies in my life that come directly to mind. One the wife and I were watching is called Frankenstein versus Dracula, made back in the 70s. Very, very low budget. Bunch of hippies looked like they tried to put it together. It was so bad, we were maybe 10 or 15 minutes into it. We both looked at each other and turned it off. Because I love a bad movie, but I don't like bad movies. I like
Right.
good bad movies. But turn that off. And the other one was the Batman and Robin with uh, Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
It was the Joel Schumacher
Yeah,
one.
Joel
Yeah.
Schumacher. I could never watch a Joel Schumacher Batman. I just turned him off. I never.
I've
But
never
this one
tried.
came on. I watched it maybe for another 10 minutes in, and I was like, click, bad.
Yeah.
And literally, I was glad I didn't go to the theater to see that one because I would have got up and walked out and walked to somebody and said, I want my money back. Have a nice day. That is a horrible movie. Joel Schumacher did not know how to handle Batman.
Right. A lot of people would agree with that statement.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah.
Mask of the Phantasm, on the other hand, great Batman movie. If you're into animation.
So this was a good bad movie for you.
This was a good bad movie. I appreciate the 80s tropes.
Oh yeah.
The cookie cutter, like we were talking about, the cookie cutter storytelling for this worked really well. There is a Chopping Mall too. Did you know that?
I did not.
So, as I'm speaking here, and I don't know if you're going to edit this part out, but we should probably watch that and attach it to this one and just do both of them back to back. Because I saw it the other day when I was clicking on, I saw Chopping Mall. I was like, oh, that's the one. And then I saw like right below it Chopping Mall 2, and I was like, wait, is that? And I didn't check to see if it was available or not. But it'd be interesting to see if they brought back the two that actually survived and they're still working at the mall. Or if it turned out to be a regular slasher flick. Or maybe they explained the robots and where they came from.
Uh, there's supposed to be a Chopping Mall remake coming,
Why?
but they're not going to use killer robots.
Well, then it's not a remake.
Then it's not a remake. I'm sorry. I can't find Chopping Mall 2.
When I was on
Interesting.
Amazon, I went into Chopping Mall, and then when I went over to the list, I saw it there.
Chopping Mall 2020.
Why? No. This one, why would you disturb a classic?
Chopping Mall remake director doesn't give a fuck what you think, David.
Is that what it says? David?
Not that you can see it yet. Yeah, doesn't give a fuck what you think.
Well, that makes me want to go see that movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can't do it a remake. It will not
Yeah.
even bear a passing resemblance to the original.
So why call it that?
It's going to be all supernatural. I'm sorry. Then don't call it that. Get out of here.
Hollywood.
No idea having motherfuckers. I will
That's
have
just
to
a
edit
Hollywood
that out.
moment.
Yeah.
Bastards.
If there is a
You don't
Chopping
even
Mall
put it-
2,
That's like making Casablanca again.
you know,
Fool.
I'm fine with a remake of this movie.
Right.
I prefer the 80s movies don't get remade because to me it's such a nostalgia trip. I
Yeah, and they're not
absolutely
going to
love.
do the same thing with like they did with this one.
Yeah, I love looking at the cars, the clothes, the hair. I
Hmm.
love the synthesized soundtracks.
Yeah,
However, there's enough missing from this story that this could be fleshed out and it could be much more. It could be bigger.
yeah,
But I would keep the robots. You have to keep the robots.
yeah. If you're gonna do a remake, you have to keep the framework of that remake, or it's not a remake. It's nothing. It's not. Don't call it Chopping Mall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my thinking anyway. I I don't like when Hollywood does stuff like this
They
anymore.
look for a buck. That's it.
Yeah,
They don't care about anything, and that's all. The original stuff is done by indies now, and
yeah.
that's the only place we're going to see it.
And even some of that is just so bad. I
Right.
mean, you get your this. You and I have talked about this. Like people that love independent movies are always so quick to jump on and say, "Oh, it's an independent movie. It's fantastic." But then when you see the independent movie, you're like, "This is crap."
Yeah.
They just assume because it's an independent movie. It's like with independent comic books. People are always like, I hate Marvel, I hate DC, I only buy independent. Well, that's fine. Are you buying good independent or bad? Yeah, because they do make bad independent books. I'm no fan of certain titles
Hmm.
that everybody seems to love because I'm supposed to love them. And no, they were bad. They're just not my, slice of life, depressing stuff is not my thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I fall into independent movies that always seem to be very depressing to me. They
Yeah.
seem to be like, we don't have a budget, so we're just going to sit here and mourn our childhood and be depressed. Here, have a latte.
I have read screenplays like that,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's like you can do a lot. It just takes a different mindset,
right.
and that's the thing with regular Hollywood movies. You do get a certain quality to it, regardless
Mhm.
how the movie turns out. It more than likely is going to be lit well, shot well, have
Hmm.
some decent actors, and it's going to look good, and you're going to be entertained. And it's going to be edited fairly well,
Yeah,
usually.
yeah.
Usually with independent, man, it's a hit and miss because you're dealing with from $0 to a couple 100,000 to,
Hmm.
well, as Hollywood considers low budget, $1 million or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's
10 mil. I think 10 million is considered low budget now in Hollywood.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't get it, but whatever. I'm not a big Hollywood executive, as you know in my
But
surroundings.
that's what they look at. They they look for the turnaround. What are they
Right.
going to make a buck on? That's why The Exorcist, God help them, is being remade. And
They did that. What was the name of that movie?
no, it hasn't been redone yet, but
No,
it's
no,
it.
no. Somebody just did an Exorcist type movie. There's a doctor in it, a psychological doctor who just says I'm a family therapist. What was the name of that movie? Oh, I don't remember the name of the movie. What was
Yeah, that is not exactly an Exorcist remake. That's the Song of Solomon, Unearthed Films. A
Song of
disclaimer: I'm in it
Solomon?
as a
That's
therapist.
it. It's better.
Yeah, that's not it. That is a possession film, but no, to me and a lot of horror buffs, The
Why would you
Exorcist.
remake the?
Yeah,
Why would they remake it?
I don't know. They see money, but that's you don't. It's like touching Casablanca. You don't do it.
Yeah, there's some
This
stuff you just don't play with, and
it's
that's one of them.
perfect. Leave it alone.
Re-release it. This
Yeah.
is what kills me. Like when Disney goes off and starts making all these live action movies that are heavily animated.
Yeah.
Like the Lion King. Oh, it's a live action Lion King. No, it's computer generated animation, jackass.
Yeah.
There's
It's
nothing
still
live,
animated.
live in there. But when they make these movies for no apparent reason, just do what you used to do. Every 7 years, re-release the movie at the theater. People
Yeah.
would go see it. I would go. I'm a huge fan. If they re-release Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, um, name any of the classics, I'm gonna go see this thing at a theater because I've never seen them on the big screen,
Right.
and I want to. But that's evidently I'm talking out my rear end, and
No, a lot of people would, but it's just it's the suits and corporations and
mhm,
shareholders involved, and anything they touch get ruined. When you put profits over art, over people, when the driving goal is profit, it shows every damn time.
mhm,
And it's now that being said, Chopping Mall was obviously not a high budget film. They did have a budget, but damn it, I could
yeah.
tell they had fun making this movie.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, it was probably made for a drive-in.
Hmm.
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say they made their money back in spades,
Oh, I'm sure they
and then
did.
probably I can't imagine how much money they made whenever it came out on VHS back in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
For the rentals and the buy, because I have friends that would have bought one out and bought anything, VHS that was a horror movie or an example of a horror movie. So it probably more than made its money back. You dump $100 million into a movie nowadays, you've got to make that back in the first weekend or you're a failure.
Yeah,
At
it's
least that's
ridiculous.
how Hollywood thinks.
It is.
From everything I've read, now this is just me going by books that I've read, and it's not like I got my thumb on the pulse of Hollywood. There may be a whole lot of guys there that are looking around going, why are we doing this? Because if I don't, I'm going to lose my job. So you got to look at that. And it's not a bad thing to make a profit. If honestly, if I'm making a movie, I would want to make money at it. I would want to go, okay, how can I sell this without selling out the integrity of the script, the integrity of the actors? I want to make money. I want to get popular enough to where I can not worry about that. And there's a few people out there that do that sort of thing. And like, I think Keanu Reeves is one of them. I think he probably did a lot of movies that he never really wanted to do. He
Hmm.
made his money, looked around and went, okay, now I can be picky. Now I can go ahead and make another Bill and Ted movie because that's what I want to do. I don't care if the rest of the world likes it or not. And evidently it's really funny. I haven't seen it yet,
I haven't seen it yet.
but I heard it's really funny.
I'll
And I
watch
heard there's a
eventually.
couple tearjerker moments in it. I don't know, but I want to see it because I'm a huge Bill and Ted fan. you know? But yeah, there's nothing wrong with making a profit. It's when you go back and you make Chopping Mall, but you're not going to have robots, and you're not going to have it in a mall. you know?
I enjoyed the movie. I'm a huge fan of slasher films
Yeah, yeah,
and 80s horror. I love anything 80s. This this checked every box. Yes,
right.
it was by the numbers. It was a paint by numbers. Here we have the final girl. Here we
Yeah,
have the kids.
definitely.
We have the boobs. We have the sex. And it was still fun.
Yeah,
It was
because you
quick.
were looking for the next beat. You knew the next beat was coming, and you're like, what? How? Okay, how are they going to get? How is the girl going to fall down in the woods and drag herself around?
And it
Well, she
happened.
fell, and it's like, okay, I was wondering when you were going to fit that one in,
And it was there. It was
and there it
there.
was.
That's one of the things that's fun. Have you watched the Scream series?
No, no. I am unlike many of the people that I know. I'm not a huge slasher flick guy. Uh, I just never got into them. Like when Jason gets shot 35 times and he keeps coming back, it's like, okay, this guy, if he
Right.
was a zombie, I'd be like, oh, okay, he's a zombie. But they never say he's a zombie. You
You would
know?
you would like Scream just because it takes those tropes and puts them right in your face and breaks the fourth wall quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yes, and you
Okay.
see it, and it's having fun with all of that,
Oh,
and
all right, cool.
it's an actually really cool series. So I recommend it when you're feeling like watching something silly and gross. Um,
See, I'm okay for silly and gross, I guess.
yeah,
I just remember being dragged to a lot of these, and that's probably part of it. Like I'd want to go see something else, and all my friends were going to see these, and I'm like, ah, okay. Don't you
understood.
guys watch anything else?
Yeah. So, and that's why I was glad to run across Chopping Mall because like Dave likes robots. We're good.
It's like robots.
It's got robots. So that was we did Devil Girl from Mars last week, and
Yeah,
there's a robot. These robots
yeah.
are a
There
little
was a
bit.
bad robot, but yeah,
These are a little bit more advanced.
yeah. These ones are a little, yeah. They had blasters though,
Yeah.
not quite as advanced as the big blaster on the big boxy robot in the
No,
Refrigerator.
but that's all he had was that one weapon.
Yeah, this is true.
I
His
bet
arms didn't
these
really
could.
move.
I bet these could outrun him.
Probably, but if he gets them, if he shoots them, not gonna be anything left of them. They ain't getting back up.
uh,
What was I gonna say? What's the next movie? What do we watch next? Is it Plan 9 or is it something
Plan
else?
9. Plan 9.
Okay.
Plan
Would
9
you
from
probably
outer
do Chopping
space.
Mall 2 if it's there?
If it's there, yeah.
Yeah, and just add it to this one or no?
I don't know. Probably not.
Okay, we can do
I,
that later.
but
Real
yeah,
quick before you do the outro,
yeah.
it's funny that all of your notes about the gun shop, the paint, the hardware store, the furniture store, where they were having sex, were all things that I did not write down, but they were all things that the wife and I were looking at each other going, "What the hell mall are they at?
I know, right? Like I said,
What
I had some shitty malls
is
growing up.
that?" Yeah, I went to some really good malls that didn't have all this stuff in them. You can live in that mall.
Oh.
Okay, you want to do the outro?
Be sure and catch us next week when we review the Ed Wood classic Plan 9 from Outer Space. Thanks for listening.